After we learned about pragmatics and indirectness, then we also learned about how do we know how indirect to be. And today, in this meeting, we will learn about measuring indirectness. I have talked a great deal about indirectness and about some utterances being more indirect than others. But what indirectness is and how it is to be measured are rarely discussed. Wiseman in 1985 discusses indirectness in terms of the relative transparency or opaqueness of meaning which can occur at utterance level and the level of what is implied. Wilson and Sperber's approach give us an excellent basis for calculating the degree of indirectness of utterance. In measuring indirectness, there are some classification. First, the role of context in interpreting indirectness, then the role of belief in interpreting indirectness, background knowledge and interpreting indirectness, the role of context in interpreting indirectness, and the last, goals and the interpretation of indirectness. First, let's discuss about the role of context in interpreting indirectness. There are times when different participants have different expectations of an activity type. Next is the role of belief in interpreting indirectness. It is required to construct the proposition. The third is background knowledge and interpreting indirectness. What one person is able to retrieve from memory, another may have to construct, and this may sometimes be an immense or even impossible task. To give very simple example, I will give you the illustration. In the summer of 1993, I was visiting Japan and I told a Japanese friend that following joke, which had been doing the rounds at work. See the conversation. Jurassic Park had not yet reached Japan, and my friend could not see why this joke was supposed to be funny. I had the greatest difficulty trying to explain it. In order to begin to understand it, you needed to be familiar with a very particular linguistic genre. The utterance, what's the difference between blah blah blah, kind of joke. You needed to know how certain aspects of Oxford are viewed from outside of the plot of Jurassic Park. And the identity of Steven Spielberg. Without these elements of background knowledge and belief, it would be impossible to construct any proposition on which to base deduction. Next is the role of context in interpreting indirectness. The term context refers to the linguistic context in which a particular utterance occurs. One example of context is agency pairs. What is agency pairs? Agency pairs are consecutive, contingently related utterances produced by two different speakers. It is a concept which is particularly relevant here. It may be reciprocal or non-reciprocal. The important point here is what has been said before constrains the way in which we interpret the response. Look at the example. The response is heard as no because a yes or no question predicts yes or no as an answer. The range of possible interpretations of an indirect pragmatics implication is thereby greatly reduced. The last is goals and the interpretation of indirectness. Leach, in the 1988 approach to computing indirectness, is to calculate the length of the path from the illocutionary act to its illocutionary goals. The path may be a very short or quite complex. For example, suppose S is cold and has the goal of feeling warmer and says, switch on the heater. In this case, there are three stages between the initial state and the final desired state. If, however, S says, cold in here, isn't it? The path will be longer. In this very simplified version, there are four stages between the initial state and the final desired state. Leach, like Brown and Levinson, who takes a broadly social-oriented and speaker-oriented approach. Okay, that's all the explanation from me about measuring indirectness. See you in the next topic. Bye-bye.